I think we're at the most dangerous time in our political history in terms of the balance of power and the role that the media plays in whether or not we maintain a free democracy or not. You know, when I first started in politics, and have been for a long time and for many years, everyone on both sides, Democrats and Republicans, despised the press commonly because they were SOBs to everybody, which is exactly what they should be. David Plouffe, who is in the White House's senior advisor, he was the campaign manager last time. He and Axelrod sort of switched out. Axelrod going back to Chicago for the campaign. Just after it was announced that he was coming, an Iranian front group in Nigeria gave him $100,000 to give 2 speeches in Nigeria. Now, let me tell you, there's nobody at hand, no stranger gives you $100,000 and doesn't expect something in return, unless you live in a world that I don't. And no one has raised this in the mainstream media. He was on with George Stephanopoulos on ABC a couple of weeks ago, and they were going through all these questions. No one asked him whatsoever about that. But I want to talk about this Libyan thing, because we crossed some lines here. It's not about politics. If any president of the United States, first of all, we've had 9 days of lies over what happened, because they can't dare say it's a terrorist attack. And the press won't push this. Yesterday, there was not a single piece in the New York Times over the question of Libya. 20 American embassies yesterday are under attack. None of that is on the national news. None of it is being pressed in the papers. If a president of either party, I don't care whether it was Jimmy Carter or Bill Clinton or George Bush or Ronald Reagan or George H.W. Bush, had a terrorist incident and gotten on an airplane after saying something and flown off to a fundraiser in Las Vegas, they would have been crucified. It should have been the equivalent of, for Barack Obama, of George Bush's flying over Katrina moment. But nothing was said at all, and nothing will be said. It is one thing to bias the news or have a biased view. It is another thing to specifically decide that you will not tell the American people information they have a right to know. The press's job is to stand on the ramparts and protect the liberty and freedom of all of us from a government and from organized governmental power. When they desert those ramparts and they go to serve to decide that they will now become an active participants, when they decide that their job is both to tell you who you may vote for and who you may not, but worse, and this is the danger of the last 2 weeks, what truth you may know as an American and what truth you are not allowed to know. They have then made themselves a fundamental threat to the democracy, and in my opinion, made themselves the enemy of the American people. And it is a threat to the very future of this country if we allow this stuff to go on, and we crossed a whole new and frightening slide on the slippery slope this last 2 weeks, and it needs to be talked about.